Yo, so I promised when I started doing YouTube, like, bro, you cannot become a political poster. That shit is so whack. And so I'm not gonna, in general. 50% of my show will be college basketball, 48% other sports. But there's me that 2% when something comes up that I gotta speak on. And this City and State article from Ms. Donaldson pissed me off so much, boys and girls, that we gotta talk about it. So, yo, we got a little context, few things. Thing number one. New York City elections, the primary elections, this mayoral election, as the last one was, is ranked choice voting. So it really makes the what do you call it? The trajectory of the campaign different. It makes the landscape different. Everything's different than what you normally are used to with primary elections. So right off the bat, everyone's figuring it out, right? It's new terrain for us in the United States, especially, here in New York. Thing number one to understand. Thing number two to understand. Last time, the WFP, as well as many in the progressive space, were torn between a few candidates and really not unified behind one. That didn't help. One guy, Scott Stringer, was accused of various degrees of credibility, some pretty serious sexual assault allegations. Diane Morales had a similar thing with campaign staff. Not really worth dwelling on that, but basically it was not a great situation. They ended up endorsing Mara Wiley, but it wasn't the most like compelling endorsement. All right. So this time around, the WFP, Working Families Party, has done something that I think is brilliant, that I think has been thoughtful, that I think is inspiring, and that is to create a slate, which is to say, let's take a bunch of the candidates that we think have a good chance of defeating Andrew Cuomo, relatively speaking, and get them to all support each other publicly, at least in terms of rank these other people after myself. So let's say you're Brad Lander, comptroller, right? Instead of basically campaigning you versus the world, it's you with recommendations that if you're voting for me, Brad Lander, you're also going to support Zelner Myrie. You're also going to support Adrian Adams. You're also going to support Zoran Manzan. And it's up to you how you want to rank him, right? It's a brilliant plan. It's the exact type of thing that the left needs to be doing, that people on the center left, whatever broad world you want to call it, whatever label you want to use, from the center left to the left, the whole big tent of people who don't want hard right wingers to stay in power, in City Hall. Mayor Adams is effectively a conservative Republican in his manner of governance. And regardless of labels, he's corrupt, right? Just point blank old school corruption, like how you doing? You give me money, I'll give you permission to build the building. Just that type of blatant, like this is exactly what we want to get out of politics. Surely, no matter what you believe, no matter where you are politically, you don't want that kind of corruption, right? Andrew Cuomo is that in Albany. Like the idea, again, forget policy, we'll get there in 1 second, but the idea of going from Adams to Cuomo would be just from a good governance, believing in the values of democracy and respect for a free press, a disaster, let alone if you even have a shred of progressive tendencies. Uh, so the WFP made the decision at the beginning of the campaign, or at the beginning of this primary cycle, that we're going to do this slate. And I say we, I guess full disclosure, I'm a member, but I'm not like a leadership, like I have no say in anything, right? I'm just a guy who pays the $10 a month or whatever it is and gives my opinion like I am right now. And I would never go public with it except for this stupid article. All right, let's talk about it. So basically, there was discussion within the WFP. Okay, we had the slate initially. What are we going to do now? Are we going to still ride with just like a slate conceptually, or are we going to elevate one? Is there going to be one member that is one member of the slate that's going to be the candidate? And then is there going to be a 1 through 4 order? Are there going to be a couple? What should we do? And so that discussion has been ongoing. Thoughtful discussions, nuanced discussions. There's really not an obvious answer here. The tone of this article and some of the tweets by people I normally respect, like Ross Barkan, and I'm not even like on Twitter like that, right? Like I would never be here posting talking about a Twitter discourse. Like I'm not on Twitter like that. But this mayoral election is obviously quite consequential in the city, and a lot of the political discourse does happen on stupid social media, Twitter being no exception. So anyway, this narrative that like the WFP is a disaster and like they don't know what to do, what chaos. It couldn't be further from the truth. This is a thoughtful, deliberate process. They're not just going in it willy-nilly. I, John Mermelstein, as an individual, I support Zoran to be the number one. I think Zoran Mamdani's running the best campaign. I think he's a phenomenal assembly member. I think he speaks to more of my values personally. You know what I mean? So, uh, I, John, support Zoran. But for the WFP or just generally a progressive person that might not be fully aligned with Zoran, it totally makes sense to say, let's just focus on the fact that we're ranking these four ahead of the guy who's evil, who would be a disastrous mayor, who was a disastrous governor. And I don't use the word evil lightly, right? Like, I'm not just saying anyone who I disagree with is evil. There are plenty of Republicans who aren't evil. You know, someone like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Andrew Cuomo has deliberately throughout his life demonstrated patterns of evil behavior, dehumanizing to others, abusing his power. Just his policies were so shit. Uh, I don't want to talk about that. I just want to talk about how frustrated I am about this, a few things about this article. So number one, that this the framing like it's such a disaster. The fact that people be leaking, like who are these people that need to leak to the press every little email that's sent out? Like it's such a like there's a scandal, like they're hiding something. It's so immature, bro. And uh, thing number three, I don't even know what I'm at right now. A tweet like this. Translation, the WFP is waiting to endorse Cuomo. The whole point of the slate is to unite thoughtfully and strategically to beat Cuomo. And then idiots on Twitter are like, oh, the WFP is selling out. Like, bro, that's the whole point. That's literally the whole point. It's to beat Cuomo. And Ross Barkan is normally, I think, one of the more thoughtful commenters on New York City and state politics. Do I have him? I don't have his tweets ready, but he's said so. Okay, embarrassing. Found it. Embarrassing. The WFP doesn't even have a reason to exist any longer if it can't function remotely like a party or serious pack. The professional left needs to stare down the barrel of this one because Zoran's success ain't theirs. So he's implying two things here. I'll start with the most recent one, that there's like this anti-Zoran grudge within the party. Nonsense! Such nonsense. Everybody loves Zoran. Like every single discussion, and I'm not trying to leak to YouTube by saying this. I'm not trying to put it. Everybody fucks with him to the T, 100%. Like I've not heard anybody. Yeah, okay. There's like quibbles about this or that. You know, should free buses be something that's emphasized as like a core to the pillar of the campaign? I've heard discussion about that, right? It's not like anti-Zoran at all. It's not like skeptical. Like there's a line in there like some think the 33-year-old like wouldn't be a serious. I don't want to dig through for quotes, but this idea that people are like unsure about him as a candidate, like not that's literally nonsense. That there's no reason to exist as a party if you can't operate like a pack. What a absolutely absurd statement considering what the WFP has been doing over the last 10 years and the direction it's increasingly moving in. The WFP was instrumental in organizing the infrastructure to fight back against Cuomo's IDC. Okay, quick story time. What's the IDC? The Independent Democratic Conference. Have you heard of it? If not, Google it. Don't just like listen to me, some guy on YouTube. Literally Google Independent Democratic Conference from the New York State Assembly, or Senate, sorry, the New York State Senate. Basically, Cuomo backdoor with state senators such as Marisol Alcantara from, she's the one who stands out because I was living in the Heights, West Harlem in that area at the time. So she was, my state senator. Um, Basically, they came to this agreement. They're like, all right, you want power? I want power. Here's how we're going to get power. We're going to leave the Democrats, skirt, and get into this middle ground where we're not Democrats, we're not Republicans, we're the IDC. We're thoughtful. It's like Chris Coons, Chris Coons, Joe Manchin, like they're just the terrible senators who were like, I'm going to get myself power by being the guy in the middle. I so effectively what that did is gave they caucused with so in the middle, but we're gonna actually caucus with Republicans, give I don't even remember, Dean Skelos, was it him? The gavel so that the Republicans got to run the Senate, and then Cuomo could be like, well, he can't do any progressive legislation, the Republicans are in the Senate, sorry. And it's like Cuomo orchestrated the whole thing. Uh, it was such nonsense, and it stresses me out so much to even just think about the IDC, which the WFP led the organizing to defeat. There's no IDC now. It doesn't exist. The Democrats have had a majority in the state Senate since the 2018, yeah, 2018 state Senate race. So the WFP clearly is demonstrating its value to those who care about good governance in Albany. On a city level, they're literally the ones doing the slate. Just the fact that there are articles being written about them shows why they have a right to exist. Like the idea that I have to justify that is so frustrating. Last thing, like this idea that you're only serious if you're communicating in a way that like you agree with me. You know what I mean? That it's like people have this narrative. I'm not saying me as in John. I'm saying me as in the commenter. It's like, oh, they're not serious. Oh, why even exist? Because you didn't do what I want them to do. You know what I mean? Like you can disagree with someone, but it's like, all right, they have a coherent strategy. Maybe it's not the perfect strategy, but it's a coherent strategy. And by the way, I don't even know what the perfect strategy is. I think it's up for debate. I think it's subtle. I personally, to me, it makes sense for there to be a whole slate and to tell everybody, hey, rank all of these people and don't rank Andrew Cuomo because Andrew Cuomo is so freaking problematic for so many reasons. And all of these four people are great. Guess what? Politics isn't all black or white. There are shades of gray. And I'm going to end the video on this. There are shades of gray to everything. And if you're acting like something is like, oh, this person doesn't agree with me or act the way I wanted to, they must be the worst thing. They must be a disaster. They must be unserious. It's a very immature and non-serious way to look at politics. And I'm disappointed by what's her name? I can't pronounce her first name, but Ms. Donaldson from City and State, great publication. Shout out City and State. And I follow Ms. Donaldson, so no, don't beef to her. I like her content a lot of the time, but ridiculous journalism and the anti shout out to anyone who would leak. Just don't leak things to make your own. If you are in a member of an organization, don't you want that organization to succeed? Why are you trying to undermine their efforts by leaking things to the press? Very disappointing move. Leak when there's like problematic abuse of power. That's when you leak, right? Like leak that my boss is sexually assaulting someone. Leak that my boss isn't paying their dues. There's a that worked for a guy once who like wasn't paying one of the other employees at the school. Like very problematic. That's what you leak, right? Tell the press that this employee is not getting paid. Don't leak to the press. They sent an email asking for people's opinion. What a disaster! Like, come on, get over yourselves. You need access to journalists that badly. You get that much of a thrill from like, oh, I'm telling them information. Look how important I am. Come on, people. All right, thanks for listening. Remember, nuance exists, and definitely don't rank Andrew Cuomo. Peace.